Everybody's peoples! Good day, all. See, we from Yom Teruah, the Feast of Trumpets, on the first day of the seventh biblical month of the Hebrew year, which is my next opening of the window for Moshiach. There seems to be some confusion about the Jubilee year and when it starts and when the seventh month starts that I would like to address. Before we get biblical on the feast days, I'd like to share two little current events that you might think hint towards Moshiach. The first event is the markets. I remember the bottom of the cycle in 2020 when the Dow Jones went from 30,000 to 18,500. One guy I know was reeling on and on how we were never going to go back up to where we were. I guaranteed him that we would go back up at least to where we were, and he asked me how I could be so sure. I told him easily because there was a gap on the daily between the daily candles at around 29.5 that we would more than likely fill. Sure, it took 6 to 8 months, whatever it was, but we got it. When oil hit $100 a barrel, I told one market friend we would peak at 120, 130. It hit 129.42. As it started coming down, I told that same friend we would come down to 195 before going back up. It stopped at 93.56. I told that same friend when silver was 25 an ounce, we would come down to 18. My friend was livid, saying no way we would come down under 20 an ounce. Last month, I told my friend silver was at 18.46, and since then has broken below 18. Looking at the Dow Jones chart since 2020 bottom, on our way to the last high at 37,000+, we had multiple gaps in the daily candles that have not yet been filled. The closest is around 28.5, okay, not too far from where we are now. However, there are other gaps, multiple gaps, all the way down to 19,130, which would be a greater ratio than the 2020 plunge. Not to worry too much, though, there are a few gaps we've made on the way down. The highest is around 36.5. While watching the Dow Jones since 2020 bottom, I have been waiting to see how the chart plays out against its ongoing trend line marker points. Typically, we have a lower and upper trend line. We can chart connecting the lowest points together for upward and downward and connecting the highest points together for upward and downward, giving us the best cases and worst cases scenarios. Because of the several gaps on the way up, I have been anticipating at some point we would have to break through that lower upward trend line of the best case scenario. After these last couple of weeks, my concern has grown. Last Wednesday, the Dow Jones candle had a fairly long top wick and a fairly evenly long bottom wick, while the red body was shallow. With the almost 1,300 point red candle the day before, tells me more than likely the next day would be a continuation lower. That next day, Thursday, September 15th, the market started out strong as I started getting a little concerned as it started running out of steam. And although momentum felt weak around 2:30 in the afternoon as I'm cruising through the creek on my personal watercraft, I'm thinking this is the end of the peak, not the top. So I need a hallmark to create me a holiday for Pinnacle Peak Thursday, as I'll call it. My suspicion was right, however, as the candle briefly pierced through the trend line by the end of the day. If Moshiach was not coming, we should have found support by now. Friday, the Dow crashed through the lower upward trend line, canceling out our best case scenario. That's the way things have worked up till now, but those switches are already being flipped. The next hint could be the sun. If you listen to Timothy Skov on YouTube, she's an amazing solar weather specialist. She's been announcing we will pick up in Earth-directed sun activity towards the end of the month, right on time. A coronal mass ejection would most likely be the first trumpet we realize. Now let's talk about time fleeting away. And Leviticus 23:23 tells us that the first day of the seventh month is a day of complete rest. No work is permitted, and a sacred occasion commemorated with loud trumpet blasts is the theme of the day. Okay, simple enough. Pick up ice cream beforehand. Leviticus 25:8 says to count off 7 sabbatical years of 7, or 49 years, and then on the 10th day of the 7th month, blow the horn and hallow the 50th year. Okay. So we can see a pattern here with the number 7. The 7th day is sacred, the 7th month is sacred, and the 7th year is sacred, the Shemitah. And the Jubilee year is sacred. And after the 7th Shemitah, the next year is a Jubilee. How simple that is. In the 49th year, the 7th Shemitah in the 7th month, on the 10th day of the month, blow the horn and hallow the 50th year. It doesn't say blow the horn and start the Jubilee on the 1st of the 7th month. It says to blow the horn in the 49th year on the 10th day of the 7th month to let everyone know that the 50th year is starting in 4 months and 20 days, and allow time for property assets to be reset. Now when Abib or Nisan comes at the first new moon after the spring equinox, everyone is to return to their ancestral holdings. And if you are leasing a property, you would have to renew your lease for the next 50 years. Most of the calendars are going to have Yom Teruah labeled as Rosh Hashanah, and most have it listed for September 26th, meaning it starts at sunset on the 25th. The problem is that in the United States, the center of the moon just passes the center of the sun mathematically an hour before sunset, so you probably won't see a new moon. Typically, we follow Israel by half a day, and their new moon isn't until 12:42 in the morning on the 26th, meaning their Yom Teruah would start at sunset on the 26th, and we should follow suit. Hope this clears up any confusion. Hope you guys have a great set of holidays. Have a great day. God bless. See you.